Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Now this is part 2 of my Runcam open source digital FPV hardware review. Now in the first video we took a look at the new Runcam VRX module as well as their version 2 VTX that is designed to be used with either OpenIPC or Ruby FPV. In that first video, I walked you through a bit of a journey of my experience. We took a look at the hardware and then I shared with you what it was like from a software perspective whilst using it with OpenIPC. Today though, we're going to be taking a look at the same hardware, but this time we're going to be flying Ruby FPV. Now in this one, we're not talking about the hardware at all. If you want to see about the teardowns on this and all of the VTX info, please do check out the first video where there will be a link in the description. This video is talking about the same hardware, but this time we have now flashed it with Ruby and we're going to see how we get on. Now originally my plan in this video was to show you how to actually flash this system with Ruby and then demonstrate how it works. However, in the time it's taken me to actually get this done, JB has already released a video showing you how to flash Ruby on this VRX module. Rather than waste any more time on that, because I know JB had some issues because I was talking to him and sharing some stuff with him on how I actually did it before he actually put his video out, I'm going to jump straight into showing you my results with this already flashed. Now for this we are using exactly the same hardware as we was in the first video. So the Runcam VRX module and the Runcam version 2 VTX module. The only difference here is software. Rather than both of these being flashed with OpenIPC, instead they are now flashed with Ruby FPV. So what we'll do first is give you a bit of an overview of Ruby, show you the menus, how it all works from a configuration and setup perspective, and then we will get it in the air. Okay, so we're booting the system up and what we're going to do is walk you through the options. Now, I just want to say up front, Ruby FPV really is in another league with regards to how easy it is to use compared to the likes of OpenIPC. Once you have flashed your hardware, there is no messing around with network connections for configuration. There's no messing around with files and SD cards. You can do all of your configuration from your ground station and it will upload it to the aircraft. This system has the option of working like it does as standard with a bi-directional link. It will communicate back and forth, or you can set it to single way as well if you want to. But what that means is that coupled with the real nice work that the developer has done on the user interface makes it very easy and simple to use. Now we're going to power up our aircraft. It's going to make a bit of noise a minute. Once it's connected to my receiver, we should then in a moment see the video connect. We'll just move that round to there. And any second now you should see the video kick in and then we'll be able to take a look at the configuration options. This can take 10 to 20 seconds. It's worth noting that the VTX is also going to boot up as well. It's going to boot into its operating mode and then actually communicate and connect. There we go. You can see that it's now kicked in. Now, with regards to configuration and OSD, just to make a couple of things clear, this system has its own built-in OSD, but it also fully supports MSP DisplayPort. So you can have your usual MSP DisplayPort OSD, or you can have their own custom OSD as well, or elements of their own custom OSD alongside MSP DisplayPort, just like you can see here on the screen. If I actually on mine a minute just go through there, I've got a couple of OSD profiles set up. Some of the info that you can see here is their OSD and some of it is mine. Now, with regards to the configuration, I'm not going to go through every single option, but I am going to give you a flavor of what Ruby FPV looks like from a configuration perspective. I'm going to press the button and I'm going to go into the menu and you can see we've got a quick vehicle setup menu at the top And then we've got all of the additional menu options below. So for instance, we've then got search, my vehicles. That's how you actually connect the vehicles to the system. It actually links the vehicles airside and groundside, just like the likes of Avatar HD, just like DJI. You've then got your vehicle settings, your controller settings, your system settings, and then your media and storage. So if we go into the quick vehicle setup option window, first of all, here we have the option to set the frequency. We can set the transmitter power. We then have camera settings. So if I go into these, you've got brightness, contrast, saturation, hue. We can flip the camera, IR cut, or you actually have a show all camera settings option down below, which expands that out even further. You then even got options down here like configuring for the system chip configuration. So the actual chipset used, you have options for that. We've then got video settings. If we go into this, this is where we set the main options for the video on the air side. So here we can set the video profile options, video codec, H.264, H.265, resolution. So if I click on that, you can see we can set 720p, 820p, 1080p, 2K, 3K, 4K. This will all be dependent on what your hardware supports, but that shows you there what it allows. You can then set your refresh rate, your frame rate on your air side. So again, you can set that all the way and you can adjust this in the settings. You've got to do it one at a time with the joystick on this, but you can see you can set that up all the way to 120 frames a second. I'm going to leave it at 60 frames a second for my initial testing because I want to test in a standard, straightforward configuration. We then got a video bitrate options, the actual bitrate of the video being transmitted. And then below this, we've got our option to select bidirectional mode, which is currently set to. That works just like Avatar HD and DJI. There is a video link from the air side to the ground station. There is a telemetry link from the ground station to the air side, or you can then set it to one way. And then there's a lot more advanced settings available in this as well. Retransmissions, you've got the algorithm, all of the additional settings in there. And then you've also got advanced video settings available too. I'm not going to go into great depth on all of this, but there is a huge amount that you can play with in this system. Auto keyframing, max auto frame milliseconds, loads of stuff with regards to the deep settings that you can choose within the system. We've then got our OSD settings, so this allows us to choose the OSD options. I have been critical of the OSD on Ruby before. I actually said they had too much as standard, and my point was I just wanted largely to use MSP DisplayPort and not have all of the OSD options that they had. They have some real nice OSD options if you want a load of big customization, lots of things like frequency bar graphs, huge amounts of information is available. For general FPV, you don't want that, and they've now introduced this really bare OSD like you're seeing here today, but you can then go in further to that to change all of the options if you want to. You've got OSD size and fonts. We've then got all of the other options like turning on and off MSP and all of the other settings in that. We've then got the FC telemetry type. So I've currently got that set as MSP DisplayPort, but you can set this for LTM, MavLink or off. Telemetry port, which is the port on the VTX. And then you've got your full vehicle settings, which you can go into, which again has a lot more, all of the main settings, including things such as CPU settings. You can even go into deep customization of the main SoC on the air side. So you can set CPU speed, you can set GPU boost options, frequency options, core priority options. So much available control in this. And again, it's all handled by this very nice UI. And then finally, you've got management, which gives you your hardware info. So I can go into that and it tells you the Runcam version 2 and it tells you all about the system as well. If we then go back, we can then go down into our controller settings. That really is your ground station settings. Under here, we've got things such as audio and video output. So this allows us to set the output from the ground station. At the moment, this only allows up to 60 frames a second from this ground station, whilst you can set the air side to higher. At the moment, you can only set this to 60. I don't know if that's something that can change in the future. As a result of that, I'm going to be doing my flight testing at 60 as well, just so I can have it the same across both. You've then got your vertical sync, and you've also got a calibrate option for HDMI as well. And then you've got video forward to USB device, network, and then you've got audio options. Again, we've got a lot more available options under telemetry, radio settings. So again, you can set the output options for the built-in radios. So you can see here, it's given us the radio TX power mode, matched current vehicle. So you can tell it to match the vehicle's numbers, or you can do things like a fixed upload power. It then tells you what the current power is set to, and then you've also got full radio config. Again, it's showing us here with a really nice user interface what we've currently got. So we've currently got on both of our ports 550 milliwatt up on bench testing, and then we've got 320 milliwatts down. Again, we've got things for the CPU, so it'll give us information on the CPU controls, peripherals and ports, local network settings, button controls, and then our recording settings. This does allow you to record on board. I'm going to be recording with my HD0 goggles because that is the view that I'm seeing, and that's what I'm going to be recording with in my flight testing today, but you do have your DVR here as well. Finally, you then got your system options. Now this is for things like alarm settings, log settings, and all of the other options, including things like factory reset, developer mode, and then you've got your about screen there as well. Now earlier on, I mentioned about the OSD settings. Now, if I go down to vehicle settings and go to OSD, as I've said, I currently have this on the minimal mode. However, you can change this if you want to turn it to compact, which will enable a lot more OSD options, or we can go to default, which enables all of these additional options that are built into Ruby FPV. These are the things that I complained about and had a whinge about, and I think I upset the developer about. But my point is, whilst I like... Oh, my quad is tripped out because it's overheated. Whilst I like these OSD options, I felt they were too much. There was no need for all of this in it from a simple FPV perspective. And you get that with this minimal view, which basically cuts you back to just MSP DisplayPort. So as you can see, Ruby really does have a huge amount of configuration. You have simple configuration if you want it, but you can go as deep as you want to go into all of the RF stuff, even down to configuring the CPU as well if you wanted to. So it's time to take a look at some footage. Now, as I've said, the idea of this is to compare it like for like to the OpenIPC software. It is all standard configuration, same hardware, it's simply been flashed with Ruby FPV. So what we'll do is an initial flight over the field, and then we'll take it down the beach for a flight or maybe more as well, and see how my experience is on this software compared to what we had with OpenIPC. Okay, so we're going to start this in angle mode just because first flight and all of that, unfamiliar with the system. I'll give you some initial observations in a moment. God, it's windy today. Hence you can see the quad moving around. I'm going to flip it into acro just then so I can get a bit of a smoother look at it. Right, initial observations. I am still seeing in Ruby that somewhat jerkiness as I yaw. Let me just go around. Oh yeah, very stepped response in the yaw. The initial signal looks fine, so I'm not getting crazy breakup or anything like that. All I'm doing a minute is just moving around the field. It is really windy here today, so please ignore the craft getting tossed around.
can't say it's a super smooth feeling or anything like that, although we're not getting any image issues, we're not getting breakup issues or anything like that. Oh, there's definitely a latency. But from a is it working perspective, yes, it's absolutely working. I'm able to fly around the field with it. Just get a feel for how it is overall. I'm also just watching like the image breakup, or sorry, the compression as it's moving over the grass. I'm sticking to circles a minute so I can just watch the compression. Yeah, it's not unlike what we've seen on other systems. What's interesting on Ruby, obviously, is this is in bidirectional mode as well, so it's operating as a two-way link. Oh, this battery is gone. This battery is a very old battery, so I don't get much life on these. These sag very quickly. So let's just move it around and have a feel of what we think. Image is quite compressed. There's some detail there. Not as sharp as 04 or 03. I'd argue it's probably... Oh my god, it's windy. I'd argue it's not as sharp as Avatar in the close-up front. I'm just going to turn myself away from the wind for the microphone because I don't even know how usable this audio will be otherwise. It's definitely not as sharp. I'm just stopping and having a look. Just trying to... It's also worth me mentioning, this is exactly the same quad setup, identical hardware as we used for the OpenIPC test. We're using the Runcam VRX, as I've said already. We're using the Runcam VTX module. What I'm going to do is swap this battery because we're at 4 minutes. Okay, we're going to go for flight number 2 and see how this behaves. Now, I've up the camera angle a little bit just so I can get a bit more speed in this wind because it is really windy here today. Clearly getting some vibration on the camera. So I don't know how much of the wind you're going to be hearing on the microphone, but it is really windy. Overall, I have to say, so initial thoughts are out the box performed much better than OpenIPC did. It's worked. I've done basically no configuration. It's worked exactly as I would have expected. I'm head on into the wind. Like, I've basically stopped because I'm head on into the wind. But I've basically... Oh, I'm going to turn away. Flashed the VTX, flashed the VRX. And it's worked fine. It certainly isn't the greatest quad experience, that's for sure. There is latency noticeable. But, you know, if these modules had come flashed like this from the factory, I'd have had a very different opinion of the Runcam VRX and VTX module from the start. I don't feel confident, I'm going to be honest with you. It feels a little detached, which is what I would usually expect to be latency related. Confidence is building a little bit. But yeah, it's certainly working on the field. I think the next task is to get it down the beach and see how it performs there. This battery is very low again. I'm using some old packs here for testing. I always go through a very simple and straightforward test routine with a new system, which is just to see how it performs on the field, just moving it around, get a feel for it, have a look at how it behaves. Ooh, that battery sagged then. Right, I think we're done here. Next, we'll get it down the beach and see how it performs. Okay, so we're down at the beach and we are going to do another flight. Tide has just gone out, so I'm just going to go for a quick flight to see how this feels. It is incredibly windy, so I'm going to just take it easy. It's even worse down here than it was at the field this morning. More than anything, I just want to see how it looks, how it feels. I can say again, I'm seeing this judder. I'm really starting to think this is the Runcam hardware. But what's weird about this is I'm also seeing the same thing with my own Reduxer build. I'm seeing it on both OpenIPC and I'm seeing it on Ruby. What that does indicate it's the hardware, but does that mean that it's just not developed enough yet? I don't know. I'm really struggling to comprehend why I'm seeing this and others are saying they're not. I'm using the default settings. It should be working. Let's just head up nice and straight. I'm definitely getting some jello from the camera as a result of the build. The image looks quite soft, quite mushy. It's not the best looking image. It's certainly not the worst either, but some of that might be to do with the jello as well. Just giving you a long straight look there. We'll come down lower and then come down and follow up the sand. The wind is blowing up, so I'm going to have the wind behind me now. Oh, we've got a bit of a judder there. I have actually been flying the T3 system this morning between this flight and the first flight. And from a flight field perspective, the T3 is in another league. I'm not saying it's perfect, but from how it feels on a flight side, it's just completely different. It feels a lot more like the original DJI FPV system. This is flyable. This is not that this isn't usable. I think Ruby have done a great job of putting together a software solution that is easy to use. Again, as I've said on the bench, I think it's much easier to get working than OpenIPC in that regard. I would actually be saying to someone, if they're interested in starting with digital FPV open source, I'd start with Ruby, is where I would begin. I think it's easier. Oh, some big stutters there. Oh, we also had a signal loss actually on the receiver as well. It's interesting. I'm really not that far out. I would actually start with Ruby, being honest, but something still doesn't add up from how it feels, how smooth the image delivery is. This is not the or at least the out-the-box settings are not the I'm not going to push this any harder than just gentle moving around, because I just don't have the confidence. And this staggering on the image, and I'm seeing that on all the goggles. I've tried it on the Skyzone 04Xs. I've tried it on the HD Zero Box Pros. They're all of the HDMI compatible goggles I've got. Is it possible it's smoother on a display? Maybe. But that's not what I fly with. That's not what the majority of pilots fly with. So if this is a goggles issue in relation to the VRX or the ground stations, it needs to be solved. It does need to be fixed because people fly FPV goggles, and that's what we're using. And more than anything, I wanted this video to be a finishing off of where I'm at on those two Runcam products out the box. I think the hardware is great. I really do. Coming low. Watching the battery level. But I've just got no confidence at all. I think the hardware is good from a quality feel perspective, but is that hardware what's causing these issues? I just don't know. And it's going to take a huge amount of understanding and testing to get there. I know I'm not alone in this. I know others have had the same. I know others are experiencing the same. But as I've said already, there are other people who are flying with these systems and they say they're absolutely fine. They have no problems at all. So, I don't know. But again, I'm always here to share my experience. That's what you're getting, completely unbiased. I have no skin in the game on this. Runcam did send me this hardware and I'm grateful for that. But as always, I am always going to say how it is, and how it is how you're seeing it here today. So, I am back down the beach. It's the next day. It's actually the evening. It is still windy. However, I have gone back. I have done some updates. So I was running Ruby version 11 before, but I've now upgraded to 11.1 because apparently that does help with the VRX from Runcam. We have, from a settings perspective, also just tweaked the camera. I've chosen the sensor calibration camera IMX415 Runcam. I don't know if that's the right one. We will give this a try. From an RF perspective, so from the radio link side, we're still on channel 5825. I'm using my own custom antennas. It's now changed the MCS rate to 19 megabits a second, 300 milliwatts of power. We're in bi-directional mode as well. So we've got full bi-directional mode on the radio. So if you see there, all looking correct, all operating as it should be. So what we're going to do is give this a test now in this setup and see how it performs. Now, I'm going to be honest, we're still in 720p 60. The color doesn't look great, if I'm honest, but let's give it a try and see how it looks and feels. It is windy here again today. Yeah, that color profile is not right at all. That certainly isn't right. Oh my god, that's very dark. Okay, I think we need to I think we'll go back to the default and give that a shot in a minute. But I just wanted to see how the video feels. Latency feels high. What is that about? That feels really high. Still got the sort of staggered moving around as I'm just going to yaw around like that. Yeah, that profile is not the one we want at all. I think we're going to come in and swap that. I'm not going to waste any more time on that one. Let's go back into vehicle settings, camera. Interestingly, that says Sony IMX415 up there. That's fine. I had dropped the brightness down a bit because it hadn't looked quite as good as it potentially should have. Should we set the shutter speed to manual? But you would want the shutter speed. Okay. So the shutter speed is what? That just, to me, that does not make sense, because you want variable shutter, absolutely, but you really don't want it down to 15. In my head, shutter speed should be set to completely to auto. Let's just put that back there. Your camera exposure time was adjusted to accommodate your current set frame PS. Okay. We've got different profiles. We can set profile B and then profile HDMI. Reset profile, right? Let's set this, reset. So we've reset that to normal. Night black and white. Yeah, well, we don't want that. Sensor calibration file. FPV do for IMX 415. Oh, Milo's for 415. Let's add his one because I believe that was a good profile. Let's give that a shot. So it's just uploading that profile now. Takes a little bit of time. I have to say, the controllability of Ruby is phenomenal. Just like this. Camera profile up. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Okay, so we're definitely whiting out. That exposure doesn't look correct. I'd probably want to take the exposure down a bit on that. Not OSD, we want camera. Okay, look, let's fly with it as it is and see how it looks. Let's go with this. Oh, I got something wrong. One of my stick. What? That's center stick. I'm rolling on center stick. Is there something wrong on my remote? Oh my god, one of my trims must have moved on the remote. Ah! I was wondering why I was yawing. Woo! Okay. Oh yeah, no, it's not the trim. Oh, something is going on my gimbal on my radio. That's weird. Okay, right. So, that looks better. That camera profile definitely looks better. Oh my god, I am fighting the sticks. What is going on there? I'm still getting that staggering image. We don't have a lot of camera angle. I'm going to jack this up to 1080p in a minute and have a look at how it looks. It's still... This is absolutely flyable. There's no question about it, but it doesn't look very good. It really doesn't. Ooh, more stick. It's fighting me on throttle because... Sorry, on stick because of that. Right, let's get this pack in. Oh, what is going on my radio? That is weird. Okay, let's get this in and then we will restart. I'm going to jump it into 1080p. I'm coming in towards the wind, so nice and slowly. Yeah, come on. I'm going to land in the grass like that. Okay, so we're just going to try now Milos 12 camera sensor profile. From a video perspective, 1080p. Shall we try this in H.265? Shall we go there? Let's have a look. Let's see how this looks and feels. Let's see if we get anything that remotely feels like I think it should do. Okay. Okay. Well, this looks a little bit better. Sorry, my remote is boned today. So, oh, this battery is dead. I've taken off and the battery is basically dead. So let's swap the pack and then we'll do the last flight on these settings. So oh my god, we had a complete. Okay, so last flight, 1080p mode, best camera setting that I've found so far, and really this will be the last bit of footage from these flights in this video. And more than anything, this is just to give you an idea of where I've got to, how it looks. This is definitely the best it's looked. There's no question about that. It still looks grainy as hell. Something is off. It's not that dark here. The sun is still in the sky. It's definitely struggling in the shadows. Oh, you can see the winds behind me, so we're moving up. I'm staying high a minute just to give you an idea of how it looks. I'm still seeing that stuttering. I'm just going to hold it there so you can see it as I came around. Let's come down now on the height. There's a detached feeling to this that still isn't right, ignoring the image quality. I'm still not where I want this to be. Let's take it up. You know, a lot of breakup. Detail is not. Ooh. Yeah, there's definitely. It's struggling. It is just struggling. And I wish I could get to the bottom of this. I really do. I spent a lot of time here tonight. I think I'm probably not going to be able to put in everything that I've been sitting here flying with and recording and testing. I've done so many tests. This video would probably be 2 hours long if I showed everything that I'd been doing. And I think in the end, this is as good as I've got. This is the best that I've seen it, but this just isn't in a position where I can say, hey, it's as good as the T3, because it's just not. It's just not. At this moment, this is not near that. Not remotely. And that struggles at low level, as I will show in the video for that. That video will show a lot more of how that looks. But flyable, yes. Miles off where I personally feel this needs to be deemed as a reasonable system from a freestyle perspective. Ooh, this battery is going. Even at height, I think it's got a long way to go on these settings as well, just to show you there again. This isn't where we want it to be. Work in progress. I think that's the safest term for me to use. And I really wish I had lots and lots of positivity to share. I really wish I could sit here and say, you know what, this is really worth a look at this moment. But from a performance perspective, it's just not. There we go.
What I wanted to quickly show you next is a flight that I did at exactly the same time, 15 minutes maybe between them, on the Edge T3 system. I've been testing both of these today, and there is a completely different feel between these two systems. I will explain this more when I actually finish the review on the T3. That's coming very, very shortly, next 2 or 3 days. T3 feels exactly the same as the original DJI FPV system did. The frame delivery is spot on. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it feels like an FPV system. There's none of this judder that I'm getting with both OpenIPC and Ruby whilst using this Runcam hardware. It's smooth. There are obviously quirks to the way it works, and I'll talk about that in that video, but it feels like a normal FPV system, and I have yet to get that feeling on either OpenIPC or Ruby FPV whilst using this hardware. Okay, so to share with you my thoughts. Now, to me, I am clearly seeing one same fundamental issue between Ruby and OpenIPC on this hardware. When I tested it in that original video, and you may have seen that and seen the pain and suffering I went through because I couldn't even fly 10 yards from me with the out-the-box Runcam settings. However, once I got it dialed in a little bit, it certainly was flyable, but it was not as out-the-box good as Ruby. Ruby is on another level on how it just works. You flash, it works. It's that easy. There's no messing around. What I'm not getting yet, though, is a real, what I feel is a proper FPV experience from how smooth it delivers the image to the goggles. I don't believe this is anything to do with the HD0 goggles, because I've also tested it with Skyzone 04Xs as well. Tried it on both HD0, Box Pro and the HD0 original goggles. I've tried it on the 04Xs. They're the only HDMI goggles I've got. I don't have the Orcas to try it on now. But there is no good reason why I am feeling this judder in the image on these systems compared to, say, the T3 system. The T3, as I've said already, feels perfect. I'm not saying it is perfect from how it performs everything else, but the overall feel of it is exactly what you would expect from an FPV system. Yes, there's latency, but there isn't this inconsistency of delivery of frames is the easiest way for me to explain it. There is a very real stutter in what I see through the goggles, and you can see it in the footage, but it definitely isn't as pronounced in the footage as it is in the goggles. But there's a very real stutter effect to it as I say pan and move along, and that gives a very detached feeling on the goggles when flying with either of these systems. I really don't know if it's related to hardware, because I also saw something very similar with my own Redaxa VRX module. This is something that I have seen from all of my testing with OpenIPC and now with Ruby FPV since the start. I really don't understand it at this point, and at this moment all I can do is keep playing and testing, because at this stage I can't recommend it. I can't even say try it, because this isn't at a minimal level that I believe is acceptable. I have a minimum level that I would say, oh, that's fine to try. T3 is there. Absolutely. Instantly. The feel is night and day. The software with Ruby is fantastic. I really have to say that. The menu system, the configuration, it's incredible what that developer has been able to do. Now I've actually really spent some time looking at it. But we now need to sort out the performance, because something is wrong here. It can't just be me, because I've tried this on multiple hardware. I've tried this in multiple different configurations. I had the old the old VTX. I've had the different VRX. Something is off, and I'm still not sure exactly what that is. I'm not even going to say it's the software. There's a combination issue here of the software and hardware are not coming together to deliver the experience that I would expect, and that's a shame. It's not actually that surprising when you think about open source versus closed source. So if you think about the T3 system as an example, That is a manufacturer who's using basically similar hardware, very similar hardware, I should say, but with their own software, so they've been able to tweak it. This feels like there's something missing in the two coming together. Ruby coming into this VRX or OpenIPC coming into this VRX or VTX. Something is off. And whether it's a bug with how it's delivering the information to the HT0 goggles over HDMI, I just don't know. But it is not right in my experience. Doesn't matter what I've tried it with on the HT0 goggles. At 60 frames a second, it should not feel like this. Doesn't matter if you're at 60 or 100. You should not have that effect that I'm seeing of this staggered frame delivery. It's really hard to explain because it doesn't show very easily in the video, and it's not stop motion. It's not that it's it's that it's like a stutter as I'm moving the image, panning, yawing, whatever it is. That's there all of the time, and that is what's giving me this horrible feel to the system, and it's very hard for me to say, hey, this is okay to go and use. What I would say, though, is this. Ruby is probably a great place to start if you want to mess around. I think Ruby is far simpler place to start with than OpenIPC at the moment, just from a configuration and setup perspective. Honestly, it's just in a much better place from that side of things. No messing around with configurators, LAN connections, just flash it once it's flashed, and the flash process isn't as easy as it could be, but that's nothing to do with Ruby. That's as much around this hardware. But it just is a lot simpler to get up and running. Now, as I've said in this video, I'm also going to be reviewing the T3 system in a few days. That will come after this video because I'm still doing the edit on that. That is very different. Even though it's very similar hardware, it does not suffer from this stuttering effect that I'm seeing. So that is something you do want to check out. Certainly not perfect, that's for sure. However, it's at a minimum that I say, hey, there are people who are going to be happy with this. Sadly, I'm not in the position that I've been able to experience that with this hardware or OpenIPC or Ruby FPV at this time. So, that's it. That's where we're at on this one. I will come back and talk again when there's something to talk about. Right now, I'm going to see what happens and continue to play. And if there's any more news, there will be another video. If you have found this interesting, please do consider checking out the first video if you haven't seen it. And finally, if you'd like to support the channel, please do consider checking out the links to my Patreon as well as buying me a coffee. It is only through the support of my Patreons that we're able to keep making content on this channel. And if you'd like to support us, please do consider checking it out. I want to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreons. We would not be able to keep doing this without your support. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe. I will speak to you soon.